And we're live. What's good, Ohio Cannabis Report family? It's your guy, Gerald Moore Jr. I am the founder and creator of Ohio Cannabis Report, and I want to thank you guys for all of the love you guys have been giving me. We have reached 88 subscribers on our YouTube channel. And again, I had to restart this YouTube channel. I have another account as well, the Ohio Cannabis Report. So we did make it. We have other followers on there, but I have been trying to pull people over to this channel. So I want to thank everybody who has liked, commented, subscribed to this YouTube platform, who has commented, but also those who follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I am trying to hit every space with as much content as possible, because obviously Ohio's cannabis industry is something that's new in terms of the legalities of it. And so we need to have coverage of this entire industry. You know what I mean? It's not fair that the government was able to do what they did with the war on drugs and, keep minority and poor, impoverished communities in control by, watching them. And, but now these legal cannabis industry companies are popping up almost with no oversight. Excuse me. From the community. I mean, there's been very limited talks about social equity, getting money and resources back to communities who have been disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs. There's been limited education and ensuring that people that have been infected by cannabis and the war on drugs, that they're restored, right? I mean, you have people that have been sentenced to mandatory minimums. You have people that have had their lives ruined, young Black boys and Black men who were in the prime of their lives, whose lives have been destroyed because a bag of weed, a joint, a roach, a couple dime bags, a couple nickel bags, or what have you. They weren't even growing, right? And so, obviously, growing up, that's all I heard about, the war on drugs, or, the DARE program, or don't do weed, or don't do drugs because drugs will fry your brain. Whole time they were leveraging cannabis as the main drug to then say, well, cannabis is a gateway drug to harsher drugs, with no background, with no backup. And you're telling kids this. And so now you've had generations of kids who've been, who've been raised in a pharmaceutical style healthcare industry, where we go to pharmaceuticals before we go to anything else. We go to pharmaceuticals before we go to our diet, before we go to exercise, before we go to fasting or anything else. As soon as something goes wrong, you go pop some Tylenol, some ibuprofen. As soon as something goes wrong, you see a medicine being marketed and advertised online, and the first thing you do is go to your doctor and say, hey, doctor, I want this medicine because the commercial says if you're dealing with X, Y, and Z, you should be taking this medicine. Whole time people don't know the effects of those medicines. Whole time cannabis is something that's simply a plant. It's simply something that you put a seed in the ground, you oil or you water it, and you give it some sunlight. And that's what you get. You don't have to do anything extra to this plant. But they've been, marketing and advertising this plant as being something that's bad, right? I'm touching this plant. I'm smelling this plant. I'm not going to get high, right? I have to do something to this plant in order to get high. I have to put it through a process. So whether that's squeezing the oils out and then heating the oils up and consuming that in a vaporization form, or whether that's grinding this up, putting it in a vaporizer, heating it up to a certain temperature so I can get the vapor, or whether it's combustion by grinding it up, putting it in a bowl, putting it in a pipe, putting it in a joint. We have to understand that just the simple process of cannabis isn't bad. You can grow this and kids aren't going to get high from running around it. Now obviously if you smoke it around it, kids could get secondhand high. But again, we advocate for responsible consumption. But I do believe everybody should have access to being able to grow their own cannabis and having access to high quality grown cannabis. And we need education around it. So that's what we plan to do here. Shout out to the homie Matt, one of the homies with App Girls Cannabis, one of the young guns doing sales and marketing for App Girls Cannabis. As you can see, I got my App Girls Cannabis hat on. And as you can see by the title of this live, Today is the Ohio State University versus Ohio University football game. And so, as an alumni of Ohio University living in Columbus, obviously this is a big game. My wife is also an Ohio University alumni, but she's born in Ohio State. So, just like most people born in Ohio, they are Ohio State fans since birth. Both of my children, all three of my children, were brought into this world at Ohio State. I'm not an Ohio State fan. You know what I mean? I was a full scholarship athlete at the Ohio University where I was an All-American, two-time bowl champ, two-time MAC East Divisional champ, cracked the top 25. And so the only reason I'm here in Ohio is because of the Ohio University. So I've stayed here because I got married to an Ohio woman, and y'all know how that goes. But I love Ohio. I fell in love with Athens, Ohio, the people in Athens, and just the overall landscape of Ohio. There's a lot of potential and opportunities here. Obviously, the Native Americans were here. There's a lot of rich history that is still uncovered in Ohio. So definitely a lot of weird energy, but again, the ancestors have called me here, and this is why I do what I do. So this is an Ohio State, Ohio University episode. And before I go any further, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go over some comparisons for Ohio State and Ohio University, just to give some historical context to this game, just to have a little bit of fun. All right, so I'm gonna go to my chat GPT real quick. I just did this on chat. So Ohio University's versus Ohio State University, founding years and historical importance to Ohio. Ohio University was founded in 1804 in Athens, Ohio. Distinction, the oldest public university in Ohio and the ninth oldest public university in the United States. Mission at founding to bring higher education to the frontier Northwest Territory after the American Revolution, fulfilling the vision of the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, which called for education as a cornerstone of democracy and civic life. Importance to Ohio. The symbol of Ohio's early commitment to education helped train the state's first generations of teachers, lawyers, ministers, and civic leaders, anchored of Appalachian Ohio as a center of culture, literacy, excuse me, excuse me, and opportunity in a region that was often underserved and is still highly underserved, known for liberal arts, journalism, business, and healthcare programs. The Ohio State University, founded in 1870 in Columbus, Ohio, as an Ohio Agricultural and Mechanical College. Distinction, created under the Morrill Act of 1862, which granted federal land to states to fund universities focusing on agriculture, science, and engineering. Mission of founding, to expand access to technical and agricultural education to fuel Ohio's growth during the Industrial Revolution. Importance to Ohio. Evolved into Ohio's flagship public research university, obviously because they get a lot of federal government money, and also they have a huge football program, and they're in the center of the state, very centrally located. Major driver of innovation in medicine, engineering, agriculture, and business. Home to one of the largest student populations in the U.S., with a powerful global alumni network. Athletics, especially football, created one of Ohio's strongest cultural exports and economic drivers. Its research hospitals, tech hubs, and extension programs directly fuel Ohio's economy and workforce. So, comparison and shared importance. Ohio University, 1804, symbol of Ohio's founding era, higher learning in the frontier, and the Northwest Ordinance vision for education and democracy. Ohio State University, 1870, symbol of Ohio's industrial age, innovation, and modern research capacity, embodying the land grant promise of accessible, practical education. Don't know how accessible it is anymore because it's getting expensive. Together, they represent two bookends of Ohio's educational history, from early statehood, Ohio University, to industrial and modern research leadership, Ohio State. Both institutions anchor Ohio's identity, OU as the state's historic, community-centered university, and OSU as the global powerhouse. Uh, So that is some background. What's good, Kevin B? Glad to see you're still reporting. Has Ohio reintroduced SB 56? So no, there hasn't been any reintroduction as of yet. We know that they are planning on it once things get back into session. They've been out of session all summer. Go ahead, baby. And so there hasn't been any more updates on anything right now. So issue 2 is issue 2 as it stands, where it is legal to consume publicly. If you're 21 and over, you can go, buy cannabis at the dispensary if you want to. Obviously, home grow is still legal. You can grow 6 plants per adult in a household, up to 12 plants. I've heard, again, I am not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I am not one of the employees of the state. In the industry, I am an independent journalist for the Ohio Cannabis Report. And so please do your own research. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. And so now that this disclaimer's out the way, I've heard that they are not prosecuting people until they're over 23 plants. So again, you can grow outdoors, greenhouse, indoors. Again, I don't know how they're going to track, if you're indoors, how many plants you have, etc. There is no selling, but what I tell people is there's nothing against donating. I got donated some bud last night. You know what I mean? I got donated a nice little bud from the homie at App Girls. Shout out to my App Girls cannabis team. So I got donated a nice little nug last night. So we're all for community out here. But again, we need more people involved politically at the state level, at the city level, and at the county level. Ohio is a big state. We have 88 counties. Every county, every city is doing something different. But people need to understand what's coming down from the state level. So again, there has been nothing reintroduced in terms of SB 56. The social equity dollars, I believe the funding was put into the general fund. So we're still fighting for social equity and ensuring that underserved communities. And when we talk about social equity, I know a lot of people get their pennies in a bunch and social equity isn't just for Black, brown, and African American people. Social equity is for poor people. You know what I mean? So if you're a white poor person, and white poor people get discriminated against too. I know a lot of people don't. We have these issues between Black and white, and I talk a lot about Black issues, but I understand poverty as well because I come from poverty. I didn't really know white poverty until I went to OU and I was in Appalachian. I was like, oh damn, and that's where I fell in love with weed because that's where the good weed was at, in Appalachian. But again, you still see poverty. You still see people getting taken advantage of by the government. People that lack housing, quality healthcare, and certain issues, right? So again, when we're talking about social equity, what's that? Yeah, just give me like 20 minutes. And so when you talk about social equity, I know a lot of times we talk about Black folks, but until poor people, working class people, right now we're dealing with class issues, right? In the cannabis industry, you can't get into the legal side in Ohio without having millions of dollars. This is a class issue. So if you have a bunch of poor, working class, middle class people going to the dispensaries, filling the pockets of the millionaires, and then you have these companies that are ran by multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, multi-state operators, and they're receiving this money, the tax money, and they're not inclined to give that tax money back to the communities that they serve. They're just taking the tax money, and they have lobbyists. They're paying lobbyists to not do certain things within the cannabis community that would benefit the majority of the community. Why are we supporting these legal cannabis companies? So a lot of Ohioans need to wake the fuck up, right? I am a supporter of legal industry. I am a supporter of regulation. I am a supporter of folks being tax-paying citizens. But what I am not a supporter of is that we've had 6+ decades of the war on drugs where cannabis and weed has been technically illegal in the United States. We've locked people up. We've thrown away the keys. We've ruined people's lives, families' lives. We've halted the economic vitality of the cannabis industry, right? We've given tons of money for research, development, to medicine for these corporations, for these universities, all while ignoring the benefits of cannabis. and the agriculture benefits of cannabis, right? Because cannabis isn't just about smoking or consuming. What about the environmental protection and the environmental practices of cannabis and hemp, right? And so, again, we need folks to wake up and realize that cannabis is much larger than just the consumption of it, right? We need it for a lot of people need it for medicinal purposes, pain, mitigation, anxiety, stress, PTSD. You have brain injuries. You have intestinal issues, bladder issues, sleep issues. Cannabis can be used for that. But also, we need to understand there are over 50,000 different uses for industrial hemp, plastics, fuels, um, bedding for animals, food for animals, cat litter, um, what is it? Insulation for housing, hempcrete. So again, we need to be more educated, and we need more people that are in the cannabis industry to come out and educate. I'm not telling people to show people your grows if you're doing something illegal, right? But there's nothing stopping you from creating a YouTube channel, from creating an Instagram channel, and educating people just on the basics of cannabis. Become a consultant, become an educator, like become a content creator, because we need more people to come above ground to educate. I'm tired of seeing people in the cannabis industry just bicker and complain and shoot down other people that are trying. Like, I'm not a grower for real. I got my first grow outside. First time I've ever grown, right? I've been consuming since I was 17, not afraid to admit it. I was a collegiate All-American football player, getting drug tested by the NCAA in the school. So again, I've been a public figure that has consumed cannabis, but I haven't been able to publicly engage. I never sold it. I never grew it. I was always one of the people, I smoke it. If my friends had it, I smoke it. If my friends had the plug or where the plug, I go get some. But I wasn't really buying it until it became legal. Or it wasn't legal when I started buying it, but you get me. But now it's legal. You know what I mean? And so we need to be one, trying to get people out of jail, trying to clear people's records, trying to keep people educated on how to grow. I'm all for people going to learn, going to work for the cannabis industry. You know what I mean? But until the masses wake the fuck up, I don't know. You know what I mean? The state is pimping everybody right now. I don't care if you work for the state. I know people that work for the state that's getting pimped by the state. My sister-in-law works for the state. I know people that work for big companies in Ohio getting pimped. You know what I mean? And everybody thinks, well, I got it a little better than so and so up the street or down the street or my neighbor, so I'm doing good. And that's not how this game works. And again, I'm doing well. Like, my life is amazing. I have opportunities, I create opportunities. But again, life isn't fun when you're winning and the majority of the people that you care about are struggling. And so that's just how I've always been. Uh, Kevin, Ohio is a unique market for sure. Conservatives in the industry have aligned. That is one reason they are aggressive about banning homegrown. For sure. And again, the problem is, cannabis is a bipartisan issue, right? And so one of the reasons they are struggling is because you do have conservatives that want to grow their own cannabis. And so you do have, where they have tried to limit home grow. Um, and really, the push for eliminating home grow is really coming from the industry side. Because think about it. If everybody in Ohio, we have 11.8 million people in the state. If half of those people decided they want to grow cannabis, it would completely disrupt the industry, right? Because again, they want to control home grow because they know, if I grow enough weed, I'm not going to smoke all that weed, but what am I going to do? I'm going to donate some. I'm going to sell a little some, and that's going to take some from the industry. But also, the industry is struggling because the industry is not allowed to market and advertise their products. So we have an entire cannabis industry. You have 144 dispensaries that cannot market and advertise that they are selling cannabis in the state of Ohio. So how do you know where to go for your cannabis? Either you just have to know somebody, either you have to be on Reddit, online. They are not advertising. There's no Instagram advertising. There's no social media advertising. They're not allowed to have billboards. They're not allowed to run commercials. And so again, even though they've sold over $2.9 billion in cannabis, medical and adult use. They've sold over $700 million in adult use cannabis in the first year. They've done all that without marketing and advertising. Now, you think about a state like Ohio, it's a heavy traffic state, right? A lot of logistics, people coming from other states. We're bordered by other states. A lot of people from Ohio are still going to Michigan because Michigan is cheaper. Some people believe that there's more quality in Michigan. Obviously, their program's been going a lot longer. Obviously, not everybody's that far away from Michigan. Some people are a 30-minute drive, 10-minute drive, an hour drive. 2 hour drive, 3 hour drive. Some people are putting their money together and going on weekend trips every other weekend to go buy pounds of weed from Michigan. And so I would love to have some people on this channel too to talk about that. But also, one of the laws that the legislators are looking to put into law is that if you go to Michigan and you come back with Michigan weed, you will be prosecuted as a criminal. One of the laws that they're also trying to put on the books is if you're smoking in your car and you're passing weed in the car, you are a criminal. And so again, I understand that Ohio claims to be this conservative state, this religious state, but they're really not. They're a bunch of posers. A lot of Christians, they'll be cheering for Ohio State today, drunk, and losing their minds. You know what I mean? A lot of people here pick and choose. A lot of people here on the surface, they'll show you one thing. Behind the scenes, they're doing something completely different. You know what I mean? Because people are conservatively rich as well, conservatively wealthy as well, conservatively racist, conservatively bigoted, conservatively obese, conservatively uneducated and illiterate. You know what I mean? So we put these words and all this stuff for political reasons. These politicians, they're getting their pockets filled, right? They have an agenda. So you can say, "Oh, I don't want to go to a baseball game and have my kids smelling weed smoke." But guess what? You can go to a baseball game and you can definitely get hit, smacked in the face with cigarette smoke and tobacco smoke. You can definitely go to a baseball game, a youth basketball game, and what the moms got in their little chiller. Some of them be drinking wine coolers, vodka. You know, like let's be serious. Let's be serious. You can go to a baseball game and the dude next to you is belligerent drunk. They getting lit at the tailgate, but y'all don't mind having your kids there. These sporting events are not family friendly. As much as we want to say, oh, like football is family. No, the fuck it's not. If you put that child on the football field and you heard what the men were saying, you would, put your muffle ears on. Plus, we're encouraging violence. Football is violent. I played football. If I was to hit somebody in real life like I did on the football field, I'm going to jail. That's a felony. And if I kill him, like, and so, but we cheer these things on, and then we try to say, well, oh, this is just entertainment. This is no. First of all, that's somebody's real life on the field. That's somebody's real life. That's somebody's body, their brains. That's somebody's father, somebody's husband, and they're doing a job because the majority of people that's playing these jobs are from poverty, working class. If you're wealthy and rich, which I lived in wealthy, rich, middle class neighborhoods, they're not forcing their kids to play football. Oh, little Timmy is too small. We don't want his brain to get injured. So we'll put Timmy in baseball, lacrosse, rowing, you know what I mean? Volleyball, basketball. But again, we got a lot of people in Ohio, grow up in these small towns, these conservative towns where they haven't been exposed to shit. They don't even got internet. They don't even have Wi-Fi. Like they don't even have other cultures in their community, which again, you're allowed to live the way you live, but don't come treading on me. Let me see. I believe outdoor cannabis growing is a key to Ohio being more competitively compared to, for sure. I mean, one, economically. Two, if you're growing Reggie and mids indoor, you're wasting so many valuable resources, water, heat, AC, um, and obviously being able to grow outdoors just allows for more growth. And Ohio is a farm state. It's an agricultural state. You get on the highway and drive past tons of um, soybeans and corn. Like how I would love to be driving down the highway and just see tall ass, hemp trees, hemp cannabis plants, right? But again, we have to educate our farmers, right? And a lot of these farmers are older, so they've been doing these things for a while. These contracts that they have, 20-year, 50-year, 100-year contracts for corn and soybean. Well, now things are changing, right? China, if you outsourcing your corn and your soybean to China, but now you got Trump putting these tariffs and all this stuff on it, but then the corn prices is not the same, the soybean prices is not the same, but we're not being innovative, right? Cannabis is something that's innovative. Cannabis can clean the soil. So if you have, it can remediate the soil, replenish the soil, clean the air, clean the water. You can use hemp for, again, different textiles. But again, if the state itself is not promoting cannabis or hemp and agriculture, if the state is not giving incentives to our farmers, that's the problem. I believe the state should be giving out seeds. We should be encouraging people in the state of Ohio to grow hemp. It should be encouraged. There should be incentives to grow cannabis and hemp. Ohio is one of the most drug infested states when it comes to opioids. We just had a huge opioid settlement a few years ago for billions of dollars. Where's that money? We push alcohol, we tax alcohol. Where is the money going? And so until people from this state realizes that, again, if you got money in this state, if you're a Republican, you own a business, you own land, your family good, I get it. There is no reason for y'all to change. But the bulk of the people in the state of Ohio are not doing well. Ohio is a have-nots versus the haves. It has been that way. I've been here for 15 years. I've lived in different parts of the state. I've lived in poor parts of the state. Again, I lived in Appalachia for 6 years. I was in undergrad, right? My wife is from Muskingum County. Not doing that well. Moved to Columbus or moved to Grandview, which is a suburb of Columbus. Now, Grandview doing really well. Average home sales for $350,000, $400,000. Then moved to Upper Arlington. Coached at Upper Arlington High School for 2-3 years. Started my first company in Upper Arlington where I'm charging $60 to $100 an hour to train people. Where a lot of my clients were executives, CEOs. You know what I mean? For major companies here in the state of Ohio. It's where I got involved more politically when I moved to Upper Arlington. George Floyd happened, Black Lives Matter happened. I was called a nigger walking my son down the street who was 6 months old at the time. I helped found a nonprofit called Equal UA, and I ended up leaving that board because I realized, oh, these people are just here for marketing purposes. They don't really want to do the work. I mean, it's hard because again, I'm going to bring shit to you that you may not thought about. You may be very nice and very kind and very want to do right. But you don't know where I come from. Just because I speak well, just because I'm educated, I'm still from the hood. Most of my family is still in the hood. I got brother locked up right now, been locked up since he was 18. My older brother locked up. I'm the second oldest of 11 kids. You know what I mean? Born to teenage parents. My mom got the scarlet letter. You know what I mean? So like I've lived a life. Just because I'm 36, I talk a little bit better, I'm a little bit more refined, does not mean that I don't have real shit. And a lot of people lose sight of that, or they think, oh, well, you were able to do it. Why can't everybody else? Because I've had to sacrifice shit that people in my family haven't had to sacrifice. I haven't gone to the parties. I haven't been in the streets. All right. I did take time to get my education. I do research. I do value my life. Right. But again, I had to be taken out of an environment to understand that it was more to life. Right. A lot of people never leave the city that they're born into or the state. I've moved. I've lived outside of the state I was born into. I've moved 3 different states. Born in Rochester, lived there for 6 years, raised in PG County, Maryland, DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia from 6 until I was 18. And then from 18 to 36, I've been in Ohio. Went to California for a trial with the NFL. So a lot of people don't ever leave. You know what I mean? A lot of people get comfortable where they are. A lot of people get comfortable in the laws, the rules that they've been controlled by. I've always been disruptive. I'm a football player. I get love wherever I go. And I'm not a fucking idiot, you know. So again, for people, a lot of people are controlled by their elders, they're controlled by the laws and the rules that have been set before them. But as millennials, we need to wake the fuck up and realize that one, we have power in numbers. Two, we have power in the internet and understanding how social media and the internet works. Three, we're no longer children. I get the boomers are set in their ways. The boomers have all the money. The boomers own the housing. The boomers are more politically active. But as millennials, we need to get more politically active. We need to pull our resources together, our information together. My parents, not a part of the boomer generation. My parents are the next generation under, I believe. But that's like what the silent generation, like you got the silent generation, you got Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Um, but I know millennials, we have like the second biggest population to millennials or to boomers. So I believe we could overthrow their ass. Now the industry has seen a slump in sales. The same thing will happen after harvest season this year, even though pre-rolls are available. For sure. And we do have pre-rolls now. But again, yeah, the sales aren't that good. And you're going to have a decrease in medical sales because again, they haven't been pushing medical cards. So there hasn't been an increase in people getting, and I think that's a problem. The reason I started being so vocal was because I got my medical card and I was able to tell people like, hey, I consume cannabis for a medicinal reason and purpose, right? It completely changes the conversation when people start to think like, oh, they're not just doing this recreationally now, right? We don't tell people that have to take pills every single day. We don't tell them nothing. You could be taking stress pills, you could be taking anxiety pills, you could be taking, obesity pills, the shot now, you could be taking all types of shit, blood pressure pills. Nobody bats an eye, but a lot of times those people aren't talking either. As cannabis consumers, again, I believe we have to showcase to people that one, you don't have to smoke weed to get high. We have edibles, we have tinctures, we have topicals, we have transdermal patches. Did I say tinctures? Lotions. So there's a lot of different forms. Vaporization. So a lot of people won't even know you high if you don't smell like weed. You know what I mean? So again, the whole ideology of like, oh, like we want to ban weed. And it's like, bro, like you trying to ban something that one helps people in a very real way. It helps people. And people think, oh, like you smoke weed, you're just lazy. Well, if I smoke weed and I'm lazy, just look at all the content that I've created about weed on weed. I got 2 Ohio Cannabis Report channels. I have Athletes in Cannabis on YouTube. I have multiple Instagram pages. I have my own personal Instagram page. I have 2 Ohio Cannabis Report pages. I have Athletes in Cannabis page. I also have these on LinkedIn, on Facebook, where I've created communities. I've hosted multiple events during COVID, post COVID, all on weed. I have a family. I'm a married man. I've been a stay at home dad for the last 8 years. My kids are healthy, doing well, thriving. So all of the talk about, oh, people that smoke cannabis are lazy, people that smoke cannabis aren't good citizens. I'm a coach. I'm a trainer. I'm in shape. So the shit that people be saying about weed, like, don't even come across me. I was a 4-year scholarship letter winner at Ohio University, All-American while smoking weed. Became a captain while smoking weed. 2-time bowl champion while smoking weed. 2-time MAC East Divisional champion while smoking weed. 4-year starter while smoking weed. Highly recruited by the NFL. Got a free agent tryout with the Oakland Raiders 2013 while smoking weed. So again, they put a lot of people and they put these boundaries and these boxes over people. I'm from the hood, smoking weed. Went to Catholic school, graduated, smoking weed. So don't tread on me and don't put your limits on me. How are feeling about your Bobcats after the victory over West Virginia? Obviously, huge victory over West Virginia, man. I wish I could have made it to the game. It looked like it was super lit. Sold out game. I played at the previous most sold out game, which was New Mexico, I believe my senior year, 2012. So anytime OU can get a big game at Peden Stadium, I used to be on the side of Peden Stadium. We got new turf field. It's Frank Solar's field. So defend the Frank, man. I actually just talked to Frank last week because it was his birthday. We're kind of almost birthday twins. My birthday was on the 1st. So yeah, I love it. And again, like I tell everybody, a lot of people think just because these smaller schools, we could compete. You know what I mean? My freshman year, we played Ohio State and we competed. We were winning until I think like the first or second possession after halftime, after one of our best players made a bonehead mistake, tried to catch a punt on the sideline, muffed the punt. The ball stayed in bounds. Ohio State recovers. 110,000 fans go crazy. They get the ball on the 30, 40-yard line, 25-yard line, 2 plays, go in and score. Crowds back into the game. Game's fucking over. So again, I believe Ohio University will be able to compete, and that's all I ask for. I think obviously there's a lot of energy and attention that goes to the game because this is an in-state game. I believe we need to be playing Ohio State. I mean, it shouldn't be 15 years in between Ohio State. I think we should be playing them at least every 3 years, at least every 5. And obviously, we almost beat them. And when you have a team like Ohio State that says, let's give Ohio University $1 million, $2 million, and then you almost lose, I understand why, systemically they don't want to play Ohio University. We've gotten better and better and better every year. So again, I always believe we have a shot. The difference between a team like Ohio State and Ohio University is depth, right? Typically, the first string can compete. It's when you start rotating guys in, right? It's when that second string start coming in. You get a second string offensive lineman, a second string defensive lineman, a second string defensive end, second, third string cornerback, linebacker, safety. That's when you start to see the difference. A place like Ohio State, first of all, has tons of money to recruit. People are going to Ohio State simply because it's Ohio State. They are Nike. They are known for winning. They are known for having the best of the best, right? They're going to pay the best coaches. Now with NIL, you can pay the best player. You can pay Jeremiah Smith $20 million, right? So again, Ohio University cannot compete on that level. But when we're talking about baseline, first string, we going to compete. It's when they start rotating guys and guys start getting tired. That's when you start seeing the mistakes. So again, I think we're gonna put up a good fight. I haven't really been paying a lot of attention to college sports as of late. You got more stuff. Another puzzle. Oh, nice. Oh, Florida mug. That's nice.
I know. That's what exactly. Next month.
Yeah.
That's why.
Just put it by the stuff on the inside, right there, by my table. But I believe we can compete. So we'll see. I'm excited. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it to the shoe. I am hosting an event at Flint Station with App Girls Cannabis. So we'll be doing an App Girls Cannabis tasting at Flint Station. The game will be on. So if you're a OSU or a OU fan, come support. I'll be there 5 to 7, depending on how many people show up. Come have a good time. I actually just got a close the door. I actually just got a shipment of App Girls in. So that's my App Girls right there. So yeah, we'll be at Flint Station in Columbus, Ohio. I'll be there 5 to 7 representing App Girls Cannabis. Come get some App Girls taste testing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. I think it'll be fun. I know it's a lot of people in town, obviously, a lot of Ohio fans, are fair weather fans. You know what I mean? I understand, like, now that I've been in Ohio, most people are born in Ohio. They are naturally born Buckeye fans. I get it. So a lot of people, when I was at OU, again, I come from Maryland. I was at OU under scholarship. So I'm a Bobcat. I bleed green. I don't care about no other school until my kids go to college and they get a scholarship or go to a school, or my nephew or somebody. I'm a Bobcat. All right, that's enough. No more. We're not about to take all her stuff.
Well, she said we can take how many stuff we want.
Yeah, that's because she trying to get rid of stuff. All right, but So, I'm a Bobcat, you know what I mean? But I understand a lot of people are born into the state. So, like going to OU, it'd be game day and you got a bunch of people wearing Buckeye stuff, you know what I mean? Or like games were free at OU for students and people wouldn't come or people would leave at halftime, you know what I mean? So I get it, you know what I mean? But I'm just a realist. Like if I didn't get into a school, right, I could see if I was an Ohio State fan, I'm born in Ohio State. Buckeyes, Buckeyes, Buckeyes. All right. But once it gets time for high school and people start getting commitment letters and I don't get into Ohio State, I applied, but I don't get in. We severing ties. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't go there. You know what I mean? So like that's one of my things. You know what I mean? I get it, but a lot of y'all ain't graduate from Ohio State. Y'all giving money for jerseys, for t-shirts. Ohio State ain't doing shit for y'all. You know what I mean? Like, but making y'all happy when they win, and then y'all be depressed when they lose to Michigan. And I think they're gonna lose to Michigan again this year. And I hope my Bobcats beat them because if my Bobcats beat the Buckeyes, you ain't gonna hear me shut up. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna be talking so much shit. So y'all better hope they don't win. But yeah, I'm a Bobcat baby. It's App Girl CBD flower. Yeah, it's hemp. It's hemp. Delta 8. So App Girls, it is a hemp derived THC drink. Yes, baby. Okay. Well, he just got out late, so he can get one more. Okay. Make sure y'all looking both ways. So yeah, but it's one of the only local based hemp companies that are doing drinks. And I respect them because the founders of App Girls, the people who are in charge of App Girls have been very vocal at the state level, one for their company, but also for their community because they're also hemp farmers. And so they're one of the only hemp farmers that is left. I think they're like one of 7, they said, of hemp farmers left in the state. So they've been really pushing for agriculture. They've been really pushing for education. They've been really pushing for opening up the market to more individuals in the state. And so I respect them. So I've done a partnership with App Girls Cannabis as a consultant, as a marketer, as an athlete. And so this is my first NIL deal since I wasn't able to do NIL while I was in college. I figured my first NIL deal, how dope would it be to do an NIL deal with a cannabis brand? So we got a year-long commitment where I'll be promoting App Girls Cannabis, and we'll be doing some partnerships. We'll be doing some taste testing. So today will be the first taste testing at Flint Station in Columbus. I believe it's over like close to Worthington. So looking forward to it. They've been nothing but kind to me, especially in an industry that hasn't really accepted, Black and brown folks in terms of being faces or involved in the cannabis space at a high level. So I really rock with App Girls Cannabis. Shout out to Josh, shout out to Joey, and Amy, and all everybody over there at App Girls Cannabis. Oh, look at that.
Look what I got.
Oh wow, you got a bag. Nice.
Something like
Yeah. Starfish.
It's like a
You could put your chain and stuff in there or money.
Or your food.
Yeah.
I want to say food.
Yeah, you use that for like coins and stuff.
Or you
Or
can
jewelry.
use it. Or you can use it for like Wait, we should put jewelry in there. Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'm doing a show right now.
Or you can do diamonds.
My neighbor's having a garage sale, and my kids are getting all her stuff, so she's just transferring. We did get a couple puzzles though. So yeah, I shout out to App Girls. We do have different spots in Columbus, Cleveland, Athens. So we are starting to spread out around the state. This is a local brand founded in Athens, Ohio. So again, I rock with Appalachian, man. That's where I fell in love with cannabis, Meigs County Gold. That's where I fell in love with cannabis community. and understanding just the different nuances and cultures. Like I said, I had never, like, going to Appalachia from the DC area was a fucking culture shock. Like going from like being ingrained in a melting pot of culture. Obviously, being able to ride the train, go from DC to Maryland to Virginia. I had a lot of freedom. And then coming to Ohio, and it's heavy car centric, so you need a car to get everywhere. Um, Very localized, a lot of information, doesn't travel fast. So it's definitely been challenging because I feel like things move a lot slower. Information's a lot slower. Um, I was jealous when Maryland legalized before Ohio. I have a couple friends. I have a homegirl, Hope Wiseman. She owns a dispensary. She's one of the youngest Black female cannabis dispensary owners in the country. She owns Marion, Maine. My homie Kevin Ford, he's done a lot of educational work in the cannabis space for policy and legislation. He's now running for office in PG County, Maryland. Um, a girl I went to high school with is the communications lead for the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. So, in Ohio, I'm like, man, we moving slow. You know what I mean? Because again, I have friends that are my age that are owning companies. Obviously, in the state of Ohio, it's tough because again, to own a legit cannabis company, let's say a dispensary, it's going to run you 5 to 10 million, right? And you got to pay for the license. It's a limited license, which they're not even have any licenses left right now, I believe. And then I'm the type of person, like, if I'm going to be in the industry, I want vertical operation. I don't just want a dispensary or just a processor. No, I want to be able to grow my own weed. You know what I mean? I want a vertical, I want, cultivation, processing, and dispensing. Um, and I would love to have testing as well, right? So we are working on a project though with Central State, my nonprofit. I can share this. So I am the president of Green Environmental Outreach, which is a 501c3 nonprofit here in the state of Ohio. Green Environmental Outreach, we focus on all things green, environmental, sustainability. And so one of our board members is Dr. Craig, and Dr. Craig is a hemp professor at Central State University. Central State University is the only other land grant institute in the state of Ohio. The other one is Ohio State. And so Central State also has a fund or a grant that supports hemp for agriculture. And so right now we're working on getting the ability to grow cannabis, to cultivate cannabis, to process cannabis, and to dispense cannabis and test cannabis in the state. Um, and so, again, that is a process that obviously is highly classified, but we are working on that with the state and with our partners to get that done. So, hopefully, we'll be able to get that done. That'll be pretty cool. I am hosting an event September 17th, Wednesday, at Central State University, People, Parks, and Power, where we will be discussing the impacts on environmental hazards, data centers, but also the importance of tree canopy in urban communities, also the importance of growing crops like hemp for environmental remediation, for soil, water, and air. And so this is an open event and free to the public. This is a part of one of the grants that our nonprofit received to educate and support climate change or climate initiatives to educate the community on, again, things that are impacting our climate. And a lot of people in the Midwest seem to think that climate change won't hit a state like Ohio, but we can already see it hitting because, like, if you go in my backyard, the ground is cracking like we're in fucking Arizona because we haven't had a lot of rain. We've been in a drought. And then you have all of these data centers that are coming here. So you have Meta, you have Google, Amazon. And so these data centers are using oil or no, but water from local communities, which again, Ohio is already struggling with energy costs, energy production, um, and then we're in a drought. And so again, cannabis plays a huge role in a lot of these things, but unfortunately, the GOP seems to not give a fuck. But that's why more citizens have to become more aware and educated on things that impact them. impact them and impact all of us. Let me see, 2 per household in Maryland. What home grow? Yeah, I don't know all the laws in Maryland. I've really just been focusing on Ohio. Again, I don't pay taxes in Maryland. I don't live in Maryland. My family don't even live in Maryland no more. A lot of my friends live in Maryland, but my parents live in DC or Virginia now. My dad and my stepmom, they got divorced, so but they live in Virginia now. But I still try to pay attention to, what's going on. My brother lives in Maryland. Ohio has better home grow laws. Yeah. Well, in our overall program, right, issue 2 is like we voted for issue 2, right? 2.7 million people in the state of Ohio voted for issue 2. We understood what we were doing, right? We understood that having home grow, being able to grow up to 12 plants, the bulk of Ohioans, right? The problem I'm seeing with Ohioans is that we had all these people vote, but then we faded away, right? We got what we wanted. But the problem is the way that we voted cannabis in is a citizens initiated statute, which means that the politicians can come in and try to change it if they want to, which is what they've been trying to do. So although we had overwhelming majority of Ohioans, over 50%, like what, 56%, 55% of Ohioans voted for legalization. The politicians are coming back in. What they came back in and said is, well, we believe that a lot of people voted for it, but a lot of people didn't necessarily know what they were voting for. That's what they're saying. Like, this is what they said on the record. You can go back and watch SB 56, HB 190, all of these bills that they tried to put in to change the laws before summertime. So they tried to say that we didn't know what we voted for. We didn't understand the ramifications of home grow and being able to grow that much cannabis, which we did, of course. We didn't know the harms. We didn't know all these things. With one, there hasn't been an increase in car accidents. There hasn't been an increase in violence. There hasn't been an increase in overdoses. There hasn't been an increase in a lot of shit. Violence has decreased. Right now, Columbus, I think we're sitting at like 50. Like, we don't want no homicides, but I think we're sitting at less homicides than we had last year at this time. Cannabis is economical, right? The jobs that the cannabis industry is creating. They're creating more jobs, higher paying jobs. People are more healthy, right? People are staying in the house. People are exercising. People are taking care of their bodies. So I believe there's more good than bad that's being done. But again, there's going to be a decrease in alcohol sales with cannabis. There's going to be a decrease in people going to the bars with cannabis. There's probably going to be a decrease, even though, cannabis increases appetite. You don't eat as much either. Like, so yeah, you're going to have the munchies and shit like that. You're going to go to sleep. So I believe the benefits far outweigh the negatives. And so there's a lot of things that we have to understand. And so, again, a lot of people have brought up we need to have a constitutional amendment, and that would essentially make cannabis being legal as part of the Constitution. Because right now, what we have to understand is, too, cannabis is our civil right. Like, it's my civil right to grow weed. It's my civil right to grow my own medicine. That's my right. So now you're going to criminalize me now? You're going to criminalize senior citizens now for having weed, for growing their own weed, for smoking weed? And so a lot of things that are coming down the pipeline, again, once fall hits and they get back in session, I'll be having more content for sure. But we got to understand, like, one of the other things that they wanted, one of the bills that they wanted to put in is that they wanted to make it basically, if you work for a company, that company could drug test you. If you fail the drug test, that company can fire you. They want to, if you're smoking in your home, let's say you live in an apartment, which a lot of people live in apartments. So again, if you eliminate public combustion, you force people to have to do these in private spaces. We don't have legal lounges. You can't have smoking lounges, consumption lounges. You can't consume at bars technically and stuff like that. So let's say you tell people if you live in an apartment, the apartment could evict you if you're growing weed in the apartment, if you're smoking weed in the apartment. We've had people that are part of industry that have had issues with that. Um, so yeah, there's just a lot of issues. But again, people need to speak up. The government works for you. The politicians work for you. So they can either work for you or against you. I don't care what they're doing for Google and Meta and Facebook and Jeff Bezos and Anduril. And the government's in on it too. A lot of people have to understand the federal government's in on it too. I know a lot of people don't want to be vocal because they're veterans or because they work for a federal government company, agency, or they're police officers or they're firefighters or they are paramedics or they're doctors or they're lawyers or they're lobbyists. I get it. I get it. But that's the price you pay when you sign the contract to work for a company. I don't work for nobody. I work for myself. I have my nonprofit. I have this independent media channel. I have my own LLCs, right? I work for me. So I have the freedom to do what I want. If you don't want to work with me, that's fine. If you don't want to donate to my nonprofit, that's fine. But I have a lot of freedom and I haven't felt this free in a long time. You can't touch me. You could do it. You could say whatever the fuck you want to. But I'm independent. I'm me. I don't owe nothing to OCAN companies. If I want to bash the cannabis industry, if I want to bash the dispensaries, I can. If I want to bash the cultivators, I can. If I want to I can. There's a guy on YouTube or Instagram that's been going to dispensaries and he's on public property and he's filming the dispensaries and people are upset about it. I don't understand why. That's his right. The dispensary got cameras inside and on the outside. You go to the hood, the police got cameras on every other corner with artificial intelligence that can see who's going in and out of every house, who can see and read the license plates going in down every street. Surveillance. You don't see that same surveillance in the suburbs. Now you're starting to see these flock cameras everywhere. What do y'all think that is? That is surveillance. We all have, most of us have now LTE phones and cameras, 4K cameras. What do y'all think this is? This is a tracking device. If something happens to you, what is the first thing they're going to do? They're going to try to get into your phone and see what you were doing. Where were you going? Who were you connecting with? These are all tracking devices. I worked for Verizon for 4 years. Everything is tracking us at this point. You know what I mean? The state is tracking you with the state identification system for the med program. The state is tracking you. The state is seeing what products you bought, how much money you spent. We got to understand that.
I have to give some back.
Okay.
Because I gave it to Ute's
Daughter. Okay. Was that for mommy? Boy, I don't need. That's not a a man wallet. Just keep it. Well, we could sell it. We sell it on Instagram or something. Make some money. Take it back then. I don't want it. But people gotta wake the fuck up, and there's a lot of people that just be sitting watching. I get it. A lot of people on Reddit, a lot of people on Instagram, Facebook. A lot of people are afraid to put their face to the fight, which I get it. But I'm a warrior. You know what I mean? I like being in the trenches. Like this shit, I'm passionate about this shit. I'm also a published author as well. So I'm in a book called Courage and Cannabis. So if you would have told me 15 years ago, I'd have been able to talk about cannabis, build my own cannabis platforms. I'd have thought you was lying. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to do this years ago. My degree is in healthcare, right? I studied healthcare. Nowhere in my healthcare studies did they talk about the endocannabinoid system or cannabis or THC or CBD as a health remedy for anything. Pain mitigation, inflammation, stress, anxiety, depression. Nowhere in my education learning about the musculoskeletal system, right? Nowhere in the education is cannabis, CBD, THC, the endocannabinoid system, CBN, CBG. So, what do you think our doctors are learning? What do you think our nurses are learning? The majority of our American Western medical system does not include cannabis as a medical modality. So you going to the doctor asking the doctor what's wrong, or you need help, or you need medicine, or you telling him, "Hey, doctor, I use cannabis," and the doctor like, "Shit, you a drug addict," because we don't study cannabis here. All we've been taught about cannabis is that it's bad. Now, I will say combustion probably isn't good. The older you get, you don't want to be combusting like that because, obviously your throat, smoke, inhaling smoke. But I do also understand the cultural significance of passing a joint, being in communion with community and smoking weed, which is how I like to smoke weed. Now, if I'm by myself, I don't mind having, what's the some resin or something, some rosin, whatever, you know what I mean? Putting it in a vape, or having a vaporized, resin or whatever. But if I'm in a communion with people and fellowship and it's a group of us and we rolling up, that's spiritual right there. That is, we having church. You know what I mean? And so I do believe there's a balance, you know what I mean? And I do believe, depending on your health, you have to understand that. And everybody is individualized. The problem is too, a lot of people like don't look at me for health. First of all, like I am a healthy individual outside of some of the injuries that I've accumulated just from overtraining and playing football. So I do have wear and tear in my ankles, right? So people look at me and be like, "Oh my God, you're so young, you're fit." I'm still in pain. My ankles hurt. Arthritis is not a fucking joke. It feels like a million needles are sticking me in my fucking ankles as soon as I wake up. You know what I mean? So I have topicals for that, but again, that is painful. My wrist, painful. Knees, hips, painful. Neck, shoulders, painful. Um, Brain, a little bit foggy some days, right? Like I played safety, a lot of hits to the head. How many concussions I've had over the course of my lifestyle, starting to play football at the age of 6, didn't stop until 23. I have no fucking clue how many concussions I've had. I've had enough. Um, we didn't even start talking about concussion protocol until I got to college like that. You know what I mean? So again, there's a lot of different issues. There are a lot of underlying issues that you can't see unless somebody tells you, you don't know. But again, people look at people and say, "Well, oh, you're healthy," or "You see how I live and you think you could do what I do." No, you don't work out like I work out. You don't eat like I eat. You haven't been training like I've been training my whole life. You don't think like I think. We are not the same. And far too many people look at people and be like, "Oh, like what he's doing is easy." All right, then do it. Then do it. It's easy to sit on your couch and watch football players and be like, "Oh, I could have made that catch." Then do it. It's easy to say I could perform in front of 100,000, 30,000 people consistently with all that pressure, millions of people watching. Do it. Imagine somebody coming to your job and watching you do it. Most people have nobody watching them over their shoulder, and people make mistakes doing simple things. You could be typing and make the wrong keystroke, or you could be typing and send an email and then mess up. And nobody's judging you like that. But as a football player, you drop a touchdown, you drop an interception, you miss a tackle that could have won the game, and you got thousands of people complaining and wishing harm upon you. Where most people can't even fucking run. Most people are obese. Most people are sick. But the judgment and the critique is crazy. And that's why I love social media and the internet, because people could talk shit all day. This whole Charlie Kirk situation. Now I feel for any child that don't have a family and their parents together, and they had to witness their dad getting pieced. But people get shot in the hood every day, B. And don't go comparing this man to MLK or Martin Luther or Malcolm X. Like, get the fuck out of here. A lot of people are born in these suburban communities, all white communities, ain't seen nobody, no culture. You talk shit, you get smacked. In the real world, you talk shit, you get smacked. And that shit is white on white violence. So I ain't that. But again, you talk shit, you get smacked in real life. And that's why I have to move how I move, because I know, like, People will try you, especially in corporate America. People will talk shit. People will try to give you less than you're deserving, knowing that you can't really put hands on them. You know what I mean? And that's how a lot of people operate. They'll treat you like shit because they know if you put hands on them, they just gonna sue you, or they gonna, it's assault. And so we live in this world where people will assault you with their words. People will assault your intelligence. People will insult your character. People will insult your moral capacity. And that's what we're living in right now. These politicians, like, you look at Donald Trump, ain't nobody, they wasn't rocking with Donald Trump at first. The Republicans wasn't rocking with Donald Trump at first. Now all of a sudden he got all the Republican support. That's crazy. Well, when he first ran, there was a huge push against Trump from the Republican side because he wasn't your traditional Republican. He wasn't your traditional conservative Republican. But now all of a sudden, that white supremacy that came in, that iron fist, and now everybody like, yeah, we need to get back to America. You know what I mean? Enough of these immigrants, enough of these people taking our jobs. No, y'all don't want the jobs. Y'all don't want to work in the fields for less money. Y'all don't want to work in these jobs. My nonprofit works out of Springfield, Ohio. There was a huge thing, the past election cycle with Springfield and the Haitians. I was working in Springfield with a lot of different community members, white, black, Haitian. In these jobs, the white people don't want. These factory jobs, they don't want. The homeless population, you got people in Springfield struggling, white folks. They don't want the jobs. Oh, they're taking housing. No, you don't want the jobs. You're downtrodden. So again, don't complain when you're not doing nothing. All right, I did want to we're going to go over some OCAN stuff. Excuse me. We're gonna apply some pressure to OCAN again. So OCAN is working to improve the Ohio cannabis industry, and they work for the cultivators, processors, dispensaries, and testing labs. Let me show y'all the leadership. So this is the leadership for OCAN's team. So David Boeing is the executive director of OCAN. Here is his email. Email him if you're disappointed with how the cannabis industry is running and operating. If you're disappointed with how the lobbying's going, there's his email. And I'm not going to read this again. I did a previous YouTube video on this where I went over all this information. He was the deputy superintendent of the Division of Cannabis Control, and they're DCC. They're the ones that's overseeing all of the cannabis industry right now. Here's their PR person, Deputy Executive Director Amy Robbins. Here's her email. Adrian Robbins was appointed to the Deputy Executive Director early 2025. And then you have Dave Hannon, Director of Finance. And then you have their board of directors, Andy Rayburn. So let's do a little background on Mr. Andy. So here's Andrew Rayburn's higher calling. As the founder of Buckeye Relief, Andrew Rayburn is responsible for establishing Ohio's first large-scale medical marijuana cultivation facility. Inspired by those looking to alleviate serious health issues, Rayburn is ready to help up-and-coming industry take root. Is he now? Let's see. Rayburn could sense the panic through the phone. As the founder, majority investor and CEO of Buckeye Relief, he'd been working for 2 years to get the first large-scale marijuana cultivator in the state of Ohio, while also on a mid-January Monday, he called the Eastlake facility to check in with his team, but what came through the other end of the line was a mild sense of dread. The state of Ohio had just approved the certificates of operation for its first 4 medical marijuana dispensaries, with 2 near Steubenville and 1 each Canton and Sandusky. That was good news. The bad news, the dispensaries were opening at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, less than 2 days away. Buckeye Relief needed to get hundreds of pounds of marijuana packaged, registered, and shipped. More than 3,500 patients diagnosed with a variety of conditions that could include cancer, fibromyalgia, Parkinson's disease were registered to purchase medical marijuana and were waiting to fill their prescriptions. So Rayburn put out an all hands on deck. Everyone for his 18 employees responded, working frantically on Buckeye Relief's first entry into the market. Job descriptions didn't matter. Office administrators worked with grow packaging, dried marijuana flowers into vials. I put on a t-shirt. I put a t-shirt on and went back and joined everybody and made sure I had at least dangerous jobs so I couldn't screw anything up, Rayburn says. I think I was putting caps on the jars. Rayburn ordered pizza and a pace continued for hours. I'm not sure that everybody even went home, says Rayburn. Since the first frenzied shipment day, at 64 years old, Rayburn admits he smokes marijuana. Like many in his generation, he smoked for the first time in high school. Today, Rayburn considers himself an occasional user, although for very different reasons. He has glaucoma, and his medical marijuana card provides him relief when the condition flares up from time to time. You can feel that coming, he says. It's not a regular thing, but it's nice to have marijuana. It has no side effects. Rayburn's personal impetus for diving into the cannabis business came in 2015 when a friend he'd known for decades was sent to hospice care near the end of a 12-year fight with multiple melanoma, the cancer which damages the bones, immune system, kidneys, red blood cells, had been extremely difficult. But soon after going into hospice, he called Rayburn to tell him he smoked marijuana for the first time. For the first time in 2 years, Rayburn's friend didn't feel miserable. He had slept through the night and eaten real food when he woke up. Tears welled Rayburn's eyes. He wiped them away as his friend asked, "What do you think about all of that?" Rayburn answered, "I think you should smoke some more marijuana." The pair had grown up together in east side of Cleveland and watched their fathers play golf together. They had also worked together, played a lot of golf themselves, and often argued about who was the better golfer. He was one of those tough Irish guys that played football, basketball, and baseball, Rayburn says. That's why he was able to fight cancer so long, in my opinion. His friend's experience made an idea of starting a medical marijuana company a personal passion for Rayburn. In 2016, he started attending national conferences to learn what he could, and he and his business partner Scott Halloran visited production facilities mainly in Colorado and California. Research has shown medical marijuana could relieve pain and anxiety and be used to treat depression and Crohn's disease. Today, Ohio allows medical marijuana use for 21 qualifying conditions, including PTSD, traumatic brain injury, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, HIV, AIDS, and epilepsy. The more Rayburn learned, the more he believes. And while he admits there is a profit margin to any business, a driving force was to do something that would benefit people like his friend. One of the biggest rewards is having people tell their stories. And so why aren't we advocating for more people to tell their stories instead of a fucking CEO, multimillionaire business guy? You know what I mean? Like that's what irks me. Oh, like I'm the first one to grow a large cannabis dispensary. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. What the fuck are you doing for the people? Is what I want to know. And so a lot of these companies are doing their own, obviously, PR and stuff like that. All right. All right. So that's Andy Rayburn, Adam Thermos, the board secretary. So you have Adam Therabos, founder and CEO of Clutch. Here's the organizational chart, the director of sales, vice president of compliance and communications, VP of production, digital marketing manager. So as you can see, there's a certain hue to the leadership of the cannabis industry. Looks like all male led too. So I don't know where the female ladies are in terms of CEOs. Actually, I think one of the MSOs has a CEO, female CEO. Kessler Company wins license to grow marijuana. Youngstown, Ohio. What's up, baby?
I want a little bit sugar.
Is mommy up?
Yeah. I like that sugar a lot.
That's good.
Yeah.
We got Ray Boyer. Ray is a partner in Mercedes Advisors, a family investment and consulting firm providing investment and consulting services, including ethics, compliance, startup operations and scale, project management, financial cost accounting, purchasing, inventory control, investor relations, human resources, insurance, safety, strategic planning, as well as board of directors, governing advice. Ray is also the CEO of Missouri Leasing and Consulting, a successful leasing and management company, including capital equipment leases, management services, and investment portfolio oversight. Additionally, Ray is a partner with Rooted Management Services, which provides advisory and operational management services of agriculture and consumer product goods. Ray was chief financial officer and board member of SDC Nutrition Inc., a manufacturer and brand sales company of protein powders and pills, with a successful exit in 2004. Ray also was the co-founder of Pure Pan and Organic Remedies Missouri, who both had successful exits in 2020 and 2023, respectively. So you can see what type of guy he is. You know, just the money guys, you know what I mean? It's all about the money. So these are different brands: Eden Trees, Modank, Odank, preferred vendors. Business planning, cost accounting, investor diligence, operations, cultivation, manufacturing, supply chain. So these are the people running the industry. You got to understand, right? They're all about branding. They're all about building companies and then being able to sell them. That's what capitalism is really about, right? Get people coming into your doors, sell products and services, and then eventually sell the company for more than you originally paid for it. So Standard Wellness, Jared Maloof. We got 3 people operations, co-founder, chief financial officer. And again, this is all public information. Oh, I didn't even switch over. I'm sorry. Y'all not seeing some of this stuff because I didn't switch over. So that's Jared. There's that one. So I'm just giving y'all some background research on the people running these Ohio cannabis companies, dispensaries, cultivators. Um, because it's important that we know transparency is key. And folks need to know that these people don't really care about y'all. You know what I mean? They don't really care. They care about their money. They want their money back. So this is the CEO of Clutch Cannabis. Um, got Bill Williams. I do know Bill. Bill has definitely been a positive force for some folks. I think he's the only African American owner of a processor. Right now, they're African American owned, and they have a white female owner. One of the other owners passed away a couple years ago, I believe. Um, let's see. But they're a processor. They've been doing a lot of good work for sure. All right, I'm gonna do a few articles, and then I'm gonna log off. Again, thank you everybody for the love and support. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot in the algorithm and all that stuff. So this is WCMH, third world mob gang member, guilty of trafficking over 2,000 pounds of marijuana in Central Ohio. Central Ohio, a member of a violent organized criminal gang organization who was convicted by a federal jury over 1 year ago, received his sentence this week, according to the United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of Ohio. 36-year-old, I don't know how to say that name, of Columbus, was convicted of conspiring to traffic over 1,000 kilograms of marijuana, firearms offense, and wire fraud related to illegally obtaining COVID-19 pandemic relief funds. The jury deliberated for less than 6 hours in August 2024 before handing over a guilty verdict on Friday. A federal judge sentenced Abate to serve 25 years and 10 months in prison. Abate, also known as Robel Sosa, was a member of the Third World Mob criminal organization, according to court documents, whose members associated with the gang brought hundreds of pounds of marijuana from across the country to sell in Central Ohio. Conspirators reportedly used U-Haul trucks and rental cars to move drugs and used stash or trap houses owned and leased in other individuals' names to facilitate drug trafficking and cash storage. Authorities state in August 2019, Abbott and others possessed a suitcase with approximately $940,000 in cash at a house in Flokes Avenue in Blacklick. During a 2022 search of another Blacklick home, a Chapelstone Road officials found two co-conspirators and seized more than 700 kilograms of marijuana and 3 firearms. Surveillance video shown at Abbott's trial showed him shooting a man at a restaurant in Columbus and the jury heard testimony of other examples of violence, including shooting and pistol whippings. Third world mob leaders and members also allegedly used violence and a threat of violence to maintain authority over their drug trafficking. In total, the United States Attorney Office states that 7 members of the Third World Mob have been charged federally since 2021. Co-defendant Abu Bakr, average 36, was also convicted at trial with Abbott. He was sentenced July 2025 to more than 15 years in prison. Fellow Third World Mob member uh, Menelik Solomon pleaded guilty to in November 2023 and was also sentenced to more than 15 years in prison. Teddy pleaded guilty to similar charges. While Ohio legalized recreational cannabis in 2023 and recently launched sales, there remains a prohibition at the federal level where the pair were prosecuted. The amount investigators found them holding also vastly exceeds the legal possession limit set by state law. So yeah, again, I'm all for full cannabis legalization. I'm all for people having the ability to, move it. But again, there's laws. Local doctors' study on cannabis has shocking warning. Let's see. This story clarifies that recreational marijuana was only legalized in Ohio, not Pennsylvania, Youngstown, Ohio. Ever since recreational marijuana was legalized in the state like Ohio, healthcare workers have noticed more people becoming intoxicated by the THC in the edible forms of the drug. Dr. Eric, let's see, Ligotsky.
Ligots.
Is a second-year resident at Akron's Children's Hospital. Recently, he co-authored a 6-year study on the impacts of edible cannabis products, and what he learned shocked him: the amount of calls that Ohio Poison Control Centers for cannabis intoxication. We all expected those to be at a rise. The age group that rose the most, 0 to 5 years old, was not something that I personally expected. Lagasse says exposure to these products by young children jumped by 12 times between 2018 and last year. These are candies that children like to eat, and they do not know that is what is in the products. So they just eat more and more. And this is my issue. This is a parental issue. If you have cannabis edibles around, you need to be educating your children that these are for adults. And you should also have them up and away from children. Put them in a lockbox because it impacts the entire community. But with the most of the cases involve children ingesting the products in the home, doctors say parents need to be especially careful, even suggesting edibles need to be treated like firearms for sure. We need to treat this product just like we treat any weapon in the house or any other medicine, for crying out loud. Legacy will present the findings of the study later this month at a national conference of the American Academy of Pediatrics in Denver. He hopes research will lead to changes in the way states and even the FDA regulate THC products. If we are going to go down this road as a country, then we need to take steps to make sure what we are doing is safe. So let me know what y'all think about that. Obviously, yeah. I mean, protect the children. All right, that's all I got for y'all today. So thank everybody for tuning in. We out. Peace.